The red and blue lights flickered over the cabin's wooden walls, casting long, gnarled shadows in the pre-dawn blackness. I stood on the porch, coffee cup in hand, as two officers walked up. Behind them was a woman in her 50s, arms crossed like a jurist about to hand down a verdict. She had on a beige pantsuit that yelled middle management, and her bleached bob bounced with each dramatic fling toward my house. "That's him, officers. The intruder." "I said he broke in last night," she snapped, her voice as sharp as cut glass. "This house has been empty for months. Then this unfamiliar person comes along and tells me it's his property. I'm the Pine Ridge Estates HOA president, and I know all the homeowners here." The tall, graying top lead officer faced me. "Sir, we had a report of a burglary in progress. Can I see some identification?" I slowly removed my driver's license and the card that was hidden behind it. While he investigated both under his flashlight, his partner checked the porch for forced entry. He wouldn't find any. The first officer's eyes lingered on the second card. His brows arched. He stared at me, then at the card, then at the woman standing behind him. "Ma'am," he spoke slowly, looking back at her. "Do you recognize this man?" She sneered. "I don't care who he says he is. He's trespassing on HOA property." The officer stood up straight. "Ma'am, Daniel Morrison is his name. He's the senior compliance officer for the State Real Estate Commission." The blood rushed out of her face like a plug was pulled in a bathtub. It began with a telephone call. My mother told me my Uncle Robert had passed away. Grief hit hard, but so did surprise. He'd left me his lake cabin in Pine Ridge Estates. I'd only visited it once, nearly 20 years ago. But the lawyer confirmed it. Deed transferred, taxes current, keys in the mail. Exhausted from a pile of real estate squabbles in the city, I opted to spend a peaceful weekend at the cabin to unwind and recharge. The windshield cruise down those twisted mountain roads was therapeutic. I pulled in at sunset to discover the cabin just as I had left it. Snug pine panels, a stone fireplace still smelling of old smoke. I settled in, started a fire, opened a glass of wine, and went to bed by 10 p.m. I didn't think I'd wake up to pounding at 7 a.m. It wasn't a knocking, it was pounding. Groaning and wearing yesterday's clothes, I made my way to the door to discover a woman with a clipboard and an attitude that expressed "How dare you be here?" "Who are you and what are you doing here?" she demanded. "I'm Daniel Morrison. This is my cabin. My uncle left it to me, and you are Linda Garrison, president of the Pine Ridge Estates HOA, and I can assure you nobody approved new residents here. This cabin has sat empty, and occupancy needs HOA approval, a $500 transfer fee, and orientation. I have the deed, the keys, the right to be here." "That's not the way things work here, mister. Do you have your HOA application? Did you book your welcome interview?" "Linda," I replied, rubbing my eyes. "I'm not a new resident. This is my property. I'm just staying at my own cabin one night." "You'll be hearing from our attorney," she snapped. "If I see you here this evening, I'm calling the police for trespassing." And she stormed off. I spent the remainder of the day cleaning, kayaking, and encountering real friendly neighbors. Tom from two cabins down rolled his eyes when I said Linda. She tried finding me for using the wrong shade of brown deck stain. I had to show her the paint can to prove it was HOA approved. I grilled hamburgers, watched the sunset over the lake, and was settled and just about to turn the TV on when two sets of headlights came into the drive. And so we come full circle. Flashing police lights, smug Linda Garrison waiting for her "I told you so." But she had no idea what she was up against. No idea at all. As soon as the officers saw my state ID and my commission card, it was all different. "Ma'am, he owns the property," said the lead officer. "You can't trespass on your own property." "But he's not paid the HOA fees, hasn't filed paperwork." "That's a civil issue, not criminal," interrupted the second officer. "You called 911 to report a burglary. That's a serious charge." "Officers," I replied, "I'm more than willing to show you the deed and estate records." "That won't be needed," replied the lead. "My captain did your property compliance seminar last spring." He turned around to Linda. "Ma'am, making a false police report is an offense." Linda's face felt like she'd been run over by a truck. I was protecting the community." From a legal property owner? I asked. The officers took down the statements. They asked if I wanted to make a formal complaint. I didn't think twice. Yes, this is harassment and an abuse of emergency services. Linda's tough exterior melted. She called her husband, the so-called HOA lawyer. She called 3 members of the board. She even attempted to call the police captain. Nothing worked. Ma'am, the officer said to her, I would suggest that you review actual property law before you make any further 911 calls. The next morning, I filed a formal complaint. I returned to my office and pulled a file on Pine Ridge Estates. What I discovered was enlightening, overreach, excessive fines, inadequately noticed meetings. Linda's name kept appearing. I requested a formal audit of the HOA. The findings? No legitimate election process, financial disclosure infractions, documented homeowner harassment. The state sent a notice of violation and called for immediate reforms. Then, the emergency HOA meeting. Homeowners packed the community center, eager for change. The vote to remove Linda was unanimous, except for her own. I attended both as a resident and a state official. Linda stood at the podium, clutching her gavel, still in denial. This is illegal. I've given my life to this community. Tom, ever blunt, said, Time to step aside, Linda. Security escorted her out, clipboard and all. Linda was fined $5,000 for making a false report to the police and ordered to do 200 hours of community service. The HOA insurance company denied her coverage of legal expenses. She had to mortgage her house a second time to cover her attorney's fees, but actual justice arrived 6 months later. I was challenged with writing new state regulations for HOA management to help stop this type of abuse. They're now commonly known statewide as the Morrison Protocols. They encompass restrictions on board power, transparency in fines and decision-making requirements, crimes against HOA harassment and impersonation. And Linda? She still resides 3 streets away. She passes her Pomeranian by my cabin but never looks me in the eye, never utters a word. And during HOA meetings, I'm informed that she goes pale whenever my name is mentioned. I was handed the annual HOA compliance report last week, the one I now manage. I smiled while signing off on the file. The irony is too tasty. The $5,000 penalty hurt, but nothing like the look on her face when she figured out that I would be overseeing the HOA she once dominated for the foreseeable future. And yes, I sleep very well at my cabin nowadays.